So apologies for the late start tonight. Guarantee you it's not this busy. We're not going to be this busy next week. But welcome to. So they changed the name on me last time. So it's Revit Architecture Fundamentals. It's also called Revit Intro sort of thing. So I'm going to be your lecturer. I'm Kevin. If you guys just want to write down my email address up there, just in case you guys can't make class or anything like that, just let me know. It's fine. The sessions are recorded, so you can follow along at home, sort of thing as well, and things like that. I'll run through a bit more of that later. I guess a bit about me before I run into the fun WHS stuff that everyone loves to run through. So I'm a building designer. I've been using Revit for just shy of 7 years now. I work full-time in industry for Week1 Homes as a draft person. I'm also in charge at the moment of training the rest of Week1 nationally in the use of Revit, because it's the way everyone that wants to be forward-thinking is going. They're starting to use building information modelling technology to draw jobs from start to finish. So that's a bit about me. I'll do a quick run through everyone's names because we've got 19 people. If the other 5 turn up, or 4 turn up tonight. So I'm a shocker with names, so if you guys can leave your name tags, or the tags that you've collected out, just so I can have a prompt for a name as well, that'd be awesome. So before I run through the WHS stuff, so all of the content, everyone's logged on, which is cool. Your password is the same. So TAFE have this brilliant thing. So it's one password and one login for everything. So if you haven't been to TAFE before, you might have had a couple of different passwords, or you might at work have a couple of different passwords for different things. I know I do. It's really frustrating. But TAFE has the one password, or single sign-on, I think they call it, which is great. So if you guys just want to open up, I prefer to use Mozilla. So we go again, Windows, and type in Mozilla or Firefox as the preferred browser for the Learn site. So I'm hoping everyone's familiar with the TAFE website, having enrolled in the course. Or we'll probably looked at it at once. So up on the top, you've got Home, Learn, My TAFE SA, and Portal. If you guys can all click on the portal and then sign in again, and you'll have to use your email address for this one. So everyone onto the portal, or almost on there. Just wait for everyone to get up to it. So the presentation is supposed to start at 7, so there might be a bit of noise from 7 tonight, unfortunately. So if you guys just want to scroll down here on this page, I think one of the other lecturers brought it to my attention that there was actually, you could scroll down to other stuff here. Probably not going to be an issue for you guys because I can reset your password here. You can also register here for a self-service password reset. So if you're at home and you've forgotten your password, you can set it up here to reset your password if you're outside of TAFE. So tonight we'll probably have a 10-minute break, probably about 7:30, 7:45 sort of thing. So if you guys just want to jump on there, then, or we could do it now, like if we're waiting for more people. So as TAFE students tonight, you get you get a free Office 365 account. So your TAFE email, I will email that one, and I'm going to show you how to set that up to forward it to your personal one, so you don't have to check it. You also get an Autodesk Educational Community license for any Autodesk software. So that's a 3-year license. So download it tonight. It'll be valid for 3 years, sort of thing. That one I'll show you how to set up in a bit. But if you guys want to jump into Office 365 off the portal, and hopefully you get something that looks like this. I don't know, maybe. So if you just want to go to OneNote, One Outlook, sorry. I've jumped between too many programs today. So you might have a few email, or you'll have to set up your time zone, which is Adelaide plus 8.5. I think it is now. Set up.
Plus 9.
Oh, yeah, plus 1. So once you're in there, yours will probably be red still. I've changed mine to blue. Need to come up to the cog, up in the right-hand corner. And once you're there, up on the cog on the right-hand corner, if you go down and click on Mail, it should bring you into the settings. And then under the Accounts tab, you've got Forwarding. And then click on Start Forwarding and enter your personal email address in there. Yep. Have they changed it on me? So that should be the same email and password that you used to log in. Sorry, just give me a second. I think they've changed what it looks like online to what I've got. So just got to reset a password and then I'll just make it third. So it's Thursday with a capital T and 1. So it's Thursday, the day, like, with a capital T and 1. So we want to give that a, sorry. So, is anyone?
Because it asks you to start new Outlook.
Okay.
It starts flashing.
Am I on the old Outlook here? So if you have the new Outlook, that looks something like this. You need to click on the gear and view all Outlook settings down the bottom. and then go to mail and forwarding and enable forwarding, and then you can type in your personal email address and save. So has everyone done that? Cool. That's easy. So if class needs to be get cancelled for any reason, I'll send an email out via this, and I don't have all your personal emails, so this is really the only way I can get in contact with you. I'll probably send it out via Learn, which I'll get you guys to log into next. So you guys can close Outlook now and Office 365 and jump onto Learn. So is anyone study at TAFE at the moment or has in the past? Yep. So anyone you familiar with Learn a little bit?
Oh, it's been a while.
It's been a while?
Yeah.
So up in the search courses tab, if you want to type in BA, I can never remember what it is. Just type in Revit architecture.
Yeah, but I'm still stuck on the terms of use.
Ah.
I can't see an accept or am I missing something?
I don't know why. So I'm not I know enough to be dangerous in the safe system, but. Is it doing that for you? Adding the key at the end?
Thanks, Tanya.
How many more? Thank you.
Two more. Oh, I have you.
So you got I'll run through this again, and when you just want to jump to Learn, you just type in Revit architecture here. So you go back to the floor. Just jump on Learn, chat there, and ask you about it. I'm just going to use it.
It's another way. Yeah. I couldn't work 100% outside and couldn't work 100% inside either. So.
Is everyone on the Learn landing page, like this one, like I've got on the screen now? So if you guys just want to click on that one. And for you guys, it'll probably come up with a prompt to say an enrollment key. The enrollment key is CRN 17059S. You only need to enter this in once. So if you log in at home, you don't have to enter it again. So don't worry about writing it down.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, shoulders the things that want to get one every time.
Yeah, I work better.
Yep.
Yeah.
And type in the CRMs, 17005.
Yeah.
Tweaking that number, start seeing.
I've done a few bits of it up. Okay. Yeah.
I've had quite a few in my career, so never been in life before, so.
Yeah, you might be like me, no distractions. Some people can learn lots of noise and voice to do, but
Yeah.
I need to concentrate.
Yeah, my phone will work.
Yeah, sits in your plays on this, nothing. You've got a noise cancelling. That's the bit, that's the category.
So we just really gonna start doing design stuff.
I'll be able to interrogate planes better, and then I'll be able to, instead of saying, oh, can you do this for me? Hopefully I'll
Russell. Can't get into learn with the enrollment key.
Just one person or?
Just one.
I want to do it for free, do concepts.
I can add that.
Sorry?
I can add
So I look at the two-dimensional plan and you ask them what colors they want to go.
Is the case one.
I think really help me conceptualize off the 2D plane.
Yeah.
Because they look at it and go, oh,
whatever was
small.
Yeah.
triple clusters is like that.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
We get our elevations, but even that's hard. People to deal with.
You need to be able to do those holograms.
Yeah.
Like in the starships.
Yeah.
Too.
It's pretty incredible what you can do with this Revit, and it's another program I've seen. Photorealistic models.
Cool.
Pretty impressive.
So everyone's on loan now. Is that? So this is where all the information we're going to be looking at over the next couple of weeks will be at the moment. So while everyone's here, I might run through the WHS stuff and then send the roll. I might send the roll around. So you guys could just initial where your name is while I run through it, just to say you've understood it. It's pretty standard stuff. So fire alarms. It really needs to be a touch screen. But so we're located up here at the moment in this back classroom. From next week on, we'll be in the front classroom behind us. So in the event of an emergency, if we hear a beep beep tone, that basically means we need to prepare to evacuate. So if you grab your belongings and things like that, and we need to wait for a whoop whoop evacuation noise to actually evacuate. So the evacuation point is down these stairs and then out. Did anyone park over near the green building on like South Road side? I'm pretty sure that's where the evacuation point still is. So evacuation point is somewhere sort of over here. TAFE runs all the way down to pretty much here, I think now. So we'll go out there. If you guys could refrain from using your mobile phones in the evacuation point, just that's what I've been told I need to tell you guys. I'm not sure why. That'd be great. Some of the other stuff here is in the unlikely event someone injures themselves or electrocutes themselves, please let me know as soon as possible. It's a pretty small room. It's going to be pretty easy to notice. I'll get someone to grab first aid who is normally security, who is normally directly below us, and then they'll make the call whether or not you need an ambulance or things like that. So they're the first aiders on that. I'll put it in their court. The other thing about security, so if anyone doesn't feel safe walking out to the car tonight, it is a fair walk out to the cars here at Tonsley. Feel free to ask security and they'll escort you out to your car. And that's pretty much it for the WHS stuff for us, which is pretty light, but I used to hate the first day at TAFE because you used to hear this about 10 times, and it was like, yeah, I know. It's like getting on a plane, isn't it? We all know what the safety procedure on a plane is these days. So, so what we might do now is if you guys just want to, I'll go around the room, if you guys want to introduce yourself and a bit about your background, just so I'm pretty cold here, I don't know what your backgrounds are and things like that. I might have spoken to a couple of you or emailed a couple of you, but other than that, I don't know you from someone on the street. So if you guys want to start from the back corner and we'll just work our way around.
Joel Miller.
Yep.
I've been working in the engineering industry, civil structural draftsman for about 20 years,
Yep.
since 97. And work for Oracle.
Nice.
Working a bit remotely in Melbourne, Sydney, also in Melbourne.
So they sent you here, or have you come
No, this is off my own back.
off your own back? Cool. Is that Oricon going that way?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
And with all their civil projects, they use all this kind of stuff, preparing documentation for all their bridge structures and stuff, which they pull into Open Roads and other software.
Yeah.
And so there's a need now, I think, for everyone to understand.
Yeah. So I guess fun fact, I know, does anyone live south and has been dealing with the Darlington extension project? A lot of that was done in Revit or BIM software sort of thing. So yeah, cool. It's great that you're doing it. I'm glad you're doing it off your own back because I think you're going to get left behind if you don't. Like the people that still hand draw architectural plans out there that sell them for, yeah. Yeah, if you want to.
My name's Yvonne. Mine's a kind of return to work deal. I've been an expat for 15 years. I've been overseas, having kids and stuff. I'm actually doing a diploma in interior design at the moment, and this is actually just to give me a bit of a leg up in that, to speed forward with that so I can get qualified a bit quicker.
Is the diploma of interior here?
It's through Open Colleges, but it's actually TAFE. Yeah, so I started actually while I was overseas, and just continuing online.
Cool.
Yeah, it would be nice to have contact hours actually.
Having just studied externally, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Cool. And
Travis Dunning, graduate architect. I run my own business and just updating skills.
yeah, so using AutoCAD.
Yeah, and Smart Architect.
Okay, haven't heard of
Russell knows. I think he used to work there.
okay. Cool. And
Dhaval. I graduated last year from Uni Adelaide. I did masters by research in robotics.
Yeah.
And now I'm changing the field.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is kind of beginning for me.
Cool. Oh, good luck with the rest of it. And I'm gonna forget how to pronounce your name. I know where you are.
Kumudul.
Kumudul.
Yeah, I'm coming to Australia.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, just a few months ago.
So were you an architect?
No, I'm just I have done AutoCAD.
Yeah.
Just I'm finding groups.
Yeah.
Getting qualifications.
Cool. Oh, welcome to Australia.
I'm Rushika. I'm from Sri Lanka. I'm a QS and we came like last month I think. So I had applied for a job a few weeks ago. So
Yeah.
the helpful but it's possible.
Yeah. Cool. Nice.
Name's Lincoln. I've been a surveyor for the last 18 years. Just doing all engineering construction. I've been using AutoCAD the whole time. But yeah, if I don't do this, I'm going to fall behind. So
yeah,
it's just been flat out the last few years and always wanted to do it. It's just slowed down a little bit, so I managed to have time to come in and do it.
Fair enough.
Noah and builder up in Mount Barker. We just want to get our 2D plans up into 3D.
Yeah.
And see where we can take that.
Cool.
My name's Raimundo. I've been a security game, electronics, for a long time. I moved into automation and we're doing a lot of work with architects and they're sending us everything in Revit.
Nice.
And I don't know what it is that they're sending. I've got no idea. So
it's one of those programs that you need to know a lot of stuff, before the easy stuff's really easy, but you get there. Like at the end of the 8 weeks, you'll be able to understand plans and understand the model.
Perfect.
Which is probably
And draw stuff.
And draw stuff, obviously, importantly.
I'm Vanessa. I've been an interior designer for about almost 5 years. I've been using AutoCAD mostly, but I'm currently working for a joiner, so using cabinet vision. So while I've got the time between design using AutoCAD, so I've learned Revit instead.
Yeah, fair enough. You have to learn how to make families and Revit.
Yes.
But if you do, they're worth their weight in gold. Cool. And
my name is Kohei Benjima. I'm a Norwegian from Japan. Last year I transferred from Tokyo to Kyoto. And I'm engaged in interior design field.
Yeah.
14 years. And I just started presenting design this year. Just started.
Cool. Nice to hear.
My name is Maddie. I'm an interior architect, but yeah, need to seriously update my skill set. It's been a while since I graduated, so yeah.
That's cool. Nice to have you here. And
Hi, I'm Gabriella. With the Leeds Building Group as an architectural draftsperson.
Yeah.
Just being here to learn a new program.
Cool.
I'm Alana. I work with the other team. I work in production and I started Revit when I was at uni and I've been at nothing since.
Okay, at least we got one person in the room that shoots it before.
Not really.
Oh yeah? Okay, I don't know AutoCAD, just quietly.
Oh.
I learned it at TAFE. Russell wasn't my lecturer for it all those years ago, but I didn't use it, so I lost it. And now I actually regret that. So
I regret nothing about that.
that's cool. It's probably changed a bit since then.
Yeah.
So.
Hi, I'm Linda. I recently graduated from USA in Boston design. So I have only been working in AutoCAD, so I have no idea about Revit.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, good luck. Well, yeah, that's what we're here for, aren't we? To learn Revit. And
hi, my name's Terry. I'm a project architect, 35, 40 years experience. I'm one of those people who still hand draw and sketch. But over time I've dabbled in Eagle, AutoCAD, MicroStation, and I don't remember any of it. But I'm doing Revit so I can edit drawings. They're all draftees and graduates who are super hot on it.
Yep.
So instead of trying to find someone to do drawings for me, I can try and do that myself.
Oh, glad you're moving with the times and seeing that you need to do that, because I know some people that sit in your position and just get other people to do it.
Yeah. Well,
things get lost in translation.
They do, and sometimes you just have to do it. You just got to roll up your sleeves and do it yourself.
Yeah. Cool.
Hello, my name is Yuan and I'm doing Bachelor of Interior Architecture soon, in June this year. And I'm just here because this program is going to be useful for work-wise.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think, so there's a bit of a mix, but I think you're probably the first designer I've had in this course.
That's good.
It's good. Been leader, market leader, that's the word? Is that
exactly.
Let's hope so. So, a couple of interior designers, a couple of drafters, a couple of builders. So, I'm going to run a couple of videos now about what the background of BIM is. I'm sure, does anyone know what BIM first of all stands for and sort of means?
Building information management.
Yep, or building information modelling or management. Modelling. Yeah, probably for what we're concerned, modelling. It certainly has in the last probably 5 years or 3 years. Like designing and constructing a building, you can think about the life of a building, 30 plus years. It's a really small time frame. It's really moved on to the facilities management post-occupancy for big commercial buildings. Residentially, it's not quite there yet, but we see at work we see a benefit because it reduces human error, which we're all humans and we all make mistakes, sort of thing. So I'll just show you. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry guys. Cool. Hopefully it's a bit easier for you to see the screen now. Is that everyone? Or are we down one now?
Sorry.
We've gone down.
So the students.
Yeah.
We've got 2, I think, that are outstanding. So
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Cool. Sorry. What speaker is this? Oh, yeah. Cool. Yep. So, does that sort of give a summary of what BIM is to everyone? So, most people see BIM as, change management. So I put a window here, it comes up my elevation and my section straight away. I don't have to remember to draw it in my elevation and section in AutoCAD sort of thing. So quite often that's as far as people want to get. They just want to streamline that process and that's as far as they get. But I've worked on NRA and a couple of large projects in Adelaide Hills, and when you start getting, architects models, engineers models, and they can do clash detection. So this building here was done with BIM. As this is a training campus, they decided to leave a lot of it unfinished, which probably cost them more money. So you can see the ductwork and the cable trays and the plumbing over in that corner. It's all been modelled in virtual reality and then built on site, and they've tried to reduces cannibalisation on site. So again, reduces money, the overall cost of the build. Interestingly enough, I know of a project a couple of years ago, and the builder escapes me. Went to the quantity surveyor, way over budget, can't afford it. The client had to pull all their toys out of the building. They decided to do BIM on it. It costed, I think, about another 50% up front in consultants' fees, but came in probably 25% under budget from memory. So the client was actually able to put his toys back into the building near that end stage. So it does make it a lot cheaper in the end for some people. It's just you need to be prepared to spend that money up front rather than on site when you're paying people to stand around and do nothing because my ductwork needs to go here and there's a plumbing pipe already or something like that. So the other video here I'm going to run for you is I guess just sort of Autodesk's take on BIM, and it's a bit of the history of BIM. I found it quite helpful. So 80% clash detection errors on site is pretty big, I would have thought, to most people. So what I will get you guys to do now is, has everyone got Revit open? I don't think the latecomers do. So just to remind you guys, so if you want to open up Revit, if you just hit the Windows key and type in Revit, and just pin it to your start bar. The other thing is you don't want to use Revit Viewer. It looks, acts and breathes like Revit. It just won't let you save or print. In fact, my boss did a weekend's worth of work in Viewer, and it's like, the update did something to my thing, it won't work. I'm like, did you use Viewer? And he had. So it's easy to do. I'm pretty sure it's a download with any Autodesk software now, but just make sure you don't use it or be willing to lose the day's work you've done. Or it shouldn't be too bad. So there's a benefit with Revit. Revit will prompt you every half an hour, 45 minutes or hour to save your project. So if it does that with Viewer, you should notice pretty quickly that it won't let you save, hopefully. So on the Learn site, under Software for Home, so I'll just give these other guys a quick second. So there's one, I'm going to say design feature flaw with Revit. Revit is not backwards compatible. So you can't take a model that was done in 2019 and take it back to 18, 17, 16 and so on. Only ever forwards compatible. For some reason, they still like to release a new version every year. So they've literally just released 2020. So they like to keep up with the American summer because it's an American software. So at TAFE, we only use 2019 because to update all the computers at multiple campuses would just be painful, and it's best done over the Christmas holiday break. So at home, feel free to download 2020 at the end of the 8 weeks, but if you want to play at home, download 2019 because then you can bring your file in, and if you have any issues, I can have a look at it, sort of thing. So as I mentioned before, you get a free 3-year Autodesk educational software license for any Autodesk software package, so AutoCAD, Maya, or Inventor and things like that as well. So TAFE has nothing to do with it apart from letting you know that it's here. So yeah. Russell, who the lecturer is for this during the day, has written a lovely how-to guide here. So you need to jump onto the Autodesk educational website, create a sign-in. Now, don't use your TAFE SA email address here. Use your personal one and just say you're studying at TAFE. I think it's an option. The reason being, you'll get kicked off your TAFE account in 10, 12, 16 weeks. I don't know. I don't do that. So if you need to reset your password and you've been kicked off the TAFE website, TAFE email and that, you obviously can't reset your password. So you can effectively have this for as long as your study period is, access to this. So there's a step-by-step guide here on how to do it. You can verify your email address. You can, we primarily focus with Revit and AutoCAD here at TAFE. You say you're studying at TAFE SA, Tonsley SA, and you're enrolled from whatever you want to put there. I'm going to leave that up to you. So you'll get, it is quite a large download. I think I did download 2020 the other day, and I think it was saying about 10 gig download, which generally most isn't an issue these days, but it's a bit of a pain to download in one bit. You can also install it up to 2 computers, personal devices. So for me, I have it on my home computer, and I've also got a Surface that I just look at models and things like that on, because that's about all it's capable to do. So you can have it on 2 devices. Just make sure when you're downloading it, you do select the 2019 version. And then the other thing as well, just download now, don't install now as well when you're downloading it. Make sure, who's running Windows 10 at home? Most people. If you're using Windows 10, the language needs to be set to English Australia. So Revit will download some content, which is American, and then it'll download the install file at 10 gig. When it's installing, it'll also download the Australian made content as well. If that's not set to Australia, if that's like set to English UK or something like that, it will download the UK content. You can fix it after, but it's just easy to do it at the start. So just make sure, just double check. This should really be at the start of the whole process. Just double check your language is set to English Australia, and it shouldn't be an issue. I may be able to provide some assistance when installing it at home, but I'm not a computer guru, so I generally just use Google for the issues. Anyone using a Mac at home? Yep. So as a few, Revit does not work on Macs. As a TAFE student, you are eligible to get, I think, a copy of Parallels or Bootcamp, and there's a how to run Revit on your Mac here. You'll need a version of Windows and things like that. And I think you can get a reduced rate if you're a student. This is why I don't use a Mac, because it doesn't run a lot of the software that I want to use. So that's there. If you're having issues downloading it at home, feel free to next week come to TAFE and download it here at TAFE, and just bring a hard drive. It's probably going to ask me to sign into that. So you can download it here and take it home and install it at home. As long as you've got an internet connection at home, it'll be fine. So that's that. So the next most important thing is this class. Our session is scheduled for the next 8 weeks. So tonight we're going to run through, well, we've already run through our logging onto computers and our WHS induction, and you've logged on to the TAFE portal. You've done your emails. I've given you the enrollment key. I've discussed the educational stuff. I'll run through in a second where you can get the YouTube links, and then we're going to jump into a model probably, and we're going to add some. We can add some families to that model, create a couple of perspectives, and then that'll probably be it tonight. Tonight's just merely get you logged on and let you know you can download it at home and have a play around with the model. And then next week, we're going to jump into basic drawing tools and things like that. So from next week, if you guys can bring a hard drive or USB, if you are going to download it at TAFE and take it home, can you do it on a hard drive? Apparently that works better than a USB drive for some reason. Russell is the guru about installing Revit, so he knows a lot more about it than me. So he said do it on a hard drive, not a USB drive, sort of thing. So similar to what I've got out here, something like that, rather than a USB stick. So has anyone got any questions so far? It's all pretty straightforward. The one thing I'm going to ask of you guys is, because there's 19 of us in this room, 20 including me, I'm not going to be able to answer the same question 19 times. So if you happen to grasp a concept really well or a process really well, and you can see if someone next to you or behind you is struggling, can you just lean over and offer some assistance, because that's going to help me out heaps, and it really helps you out as well, because it also cements that knowledge that you've just done. So you'll be like, oh, this is how you do it, sort of thing. So this is the biggest group I've taught. So as you can see, the squeeze an extra computer in here tonight, sort of thing. So, yeah. So, I'll just run through. So that's there. That's always on the Learn site to get to. So there is a learning resource that you guys don't need to purchase for this course. These guys are probably the best at writing guides to use Revit or any Autodesk or anything sort of thing, I think. So the Ascent guide here, this one's last year's version, but there's not much that's changed in 19 to 2020. From 18 to 19. There's the first chapter on Learn. You guys don't need to buy this, but if you do want a future reference guide, there's actually always the Autodesk help, which I'll run through a little bit as well. But this is generally pretty good. Is that rain or clapping? No, you can hear it when it rains really badly outside. You can hear it in here. I'm like, it must be clapping because hopefully it's rained all that way. So there's copies of this, older copies of this back here in the very last cupboard. There's a couple of copies that have to stay on tape property. They can't be taken home. If you want to have a flick through, feel free to have a flick through this. The exercises in the first couple of weeks we're going to do are going to be out of this book. And then after that, we're going to sort of go a bit ad hoc, and there's a couple of exercises. So I think week 3, we're going to insert a DWG file into a project, and we'll draw a project. We'll draw a house from that file. Again, word of warning, the DWG file is only, so your model is only going to be as good as the DWG file you get. So there's errors in that file, you're going to duplicate those errors in Revit. Revit is super accurate, down to, I was working on a job down to 12 decimal places for 90 degrees. It was 89 point something, ridiculous. We had to go to 12 decimal places to work out it wasn't actually 90 degrees because it won't dimension if it's not parallel. So it's, people go, oh, Revit's not accurate. I'm like, it is. You just haven't learned how to use it properly. So also, as I mentioned before, like this week you're gonna have to, we're gonna look at the user interface. I'm gonna use some keyboard shortcuts to use. I'm massive on the keyboard shortcuts. I don't know if anyone else likes them. For those AutoCAD users that use keyboard shortcuts, you don't have to press enter at the end of the commands. I don't think I could go back to do that. You just type in the 2 letters or 3 letters or whatever you've assigned to it, and it's great. It just does it all. You need to know a lot to, I say you need to know how to run before you can walk in Revit. So it's probably about week 3 or 4 that things are going to start to click and make sense. So bear with me. Let me know if I'm going too fast. I'm going to try and slow it down because it's a big group. But I do tend to talk really fast because I find it really hard to get out of a work 9 to 5 mentality of getting stuff out the door as quickly as possible because there's always other stuff coming in. I'm sure most of us at work are like that anyway. So what I'll hand out now, hopefully I've got enough copies. Let's take one and pass one back. If you have spares, let me know because I only printed 19. Sweet, there shouldn't be any spares. I'm also a pretty relaxed lecturer, so I don't mind you guys being on your phone. Just if you have to take a phone call, just please step out of the room. And also, if you're going to have drinks in here, please have them in closed containers. Again, I don't generally care too much, but if something gets damaged, it's my ass. So if you guys just want to open up Revit. So actually, I tell a lie, there was a big change that happened between 18 and 19, but it doesn't actually function, that doesn't actually impact how to use the software. It just was an awesome function that they finally added to the software, which was overdue. Who works on 2 monitors at work or at home? Yeah, I want 3. I want one for Revit, and one for my emails, and probably one for my PDFs, eventually. Just because I'm greedy and want 3 or 4 screens. I'll run through that in a minute. It's a bit hard for me to show you guys on one screen, but you guys will be able to play with it on yours a bit later. I'll probably use one for you guys. Yeah. Sorry. So what I've just given you guys is a cheat sheet for keyboard shortcuts. So you'll probably find that a lot of tools are generally the first 2 letters of a tool, like dimension is DI, delete is DE, so it's the first 2 letters of the tool, so it's pretty logical. You can also assign your own keyboard shortcuts to a program, or to the program. And you can also export them and take them to other computers. I find it really frustrating going to someone else's computer at work. I'm like, why isn't it my keyboard shortcut? But everyone works differently. So this is your new Revit user interface opening screen. So Revit has decided to do away with a few things off this screen, which you guys will have no idea about. Learn Up Here is actually a really helpful tool when you're at home or at work using Revit. F1 button also does the same thing. It's the help function. Basically, Autodesk do a really good job at writing instructions on how to use their tools. So, just out of interest, who learns by reading though? So, 2 out of 19. I'm certainly not one of those people. I much prefer to watch something being done and then have a practice myself. So, I'm learning to use the F1 help tool a lot more, or at least tell users that it's there because it's written. There's also YouTube videos if you're not likely to have your YouTube blocked at work, and things like that. So Learn Up Here is really helpful. I'll just click on it just to show you. So you can see what's new. You've got essential skill videos and getting started videos here. So it'll open up the Autodesk help. So you've got videos here about the user interface and all this sort of stuff here. So it's pretty helpful. It's pretty annoying because it's the F1 button and you learn that we use the escape button a lot as well. So the fact that F1 or escape are like that close on the keyboard does get really annoying. So Revit has now decided, the reason why it looks like this is, as the second video I showed you alluded to, everything's on cloud-based. So they've done this, made this user interface a little bit more streamlined and white because there's Autodesk 360, which allows you to upload models to the cloud and then work on those models anywhere, sort of thing. Internet speeds in Australia are probably lacking the ability to do that here, particularly when some models are like 300 meg. Could you imagine downloading that to work on it and then uploading it? Just be a lot of time. So it's separated into models and families. So models are what basically we draw, and families, as you can see here, are what we load into projects. So you've got like a table, you've got a simple structure family there, and then you've also got a simple system family, which I have no idea what it is. So mine looks a little bit different to yours. You guys will have the sample architecture project, the sample structure project, and the sample systems project there. It will show you what you've last opened, and I think it even goes down to 2 lines now, as we're used to only like a couple, like 2 or 3 jobs, which is a bit annoying. So it'll show you the last couple of jobs you've worked on. So if you're lucky and you're working on the same job for a week or 2, it'll just come up there and you can click on that and open. If you're unlucky like me at work, who works for maybe 5 or 6 jobs a day for different reasons, you might have to go into the open. So it's also separated open up here and new into families and models, and then also has recent files here. So one big change in 19 is this home screen is easily accessible from your user interface. So it's like you can flick back to this and open up another model. In 18, it was a little bit more difficult, and I think in 19.0, so the first iteration of Revit 19 that was released April last year, had the old user interface. This was a 0.1 update. So you want to update your computer, your install as well when you download it at home. So if you want to open a project, so if everyone just wants to go new, we'll jump into this first and then we'll go through open later. So it comes up to a new project dialog box that opens up. You'll find, so under the template file, you have 5 options. You have none. I've never used it. I don't suggest you do. You have construction template. Again, never used it unless I don't know why it's got construction. Don't know. You've got mechanical and structural templates. Again, I've never used them because I'm not in that discipline. And then you've got the architectural template. So basically what Revit does is it's the same template, it just has different views set up to it. So you guys just want to go architectural template. And then you'll also notice that you have create new, project, or project template. So does anyone have a guess what project or project template is? So a project is creating a new project. So just to show hands, who works for themselves? Yeah. So you're probably going to want to set up your own office template. So you set up, that's when you start a project template. So there's 2 differences there. So if you're looking in your file explorer, you have a .rfa. How do I get this to? So there's .rfas, which are, I can't remember. I've had a total mental blank. There's .rte is Revit template. .rfa, I'm pretty sure, is a Revit family, and a .rvt is a Revit project. You can start a job accidentally using a Revit template, but it's still a template. You need to start a new project for it to become a project. Could be the same. You could be fine long term, but you probably wouldn't want to. You'd want to start a project rather than using a template. So my theory is you should do 3 jobs. Chronological projects. If you're starting out at home or practicing, do 3 jobs if you want to get a template. So do job A, B, C. At that end of that job C, take that job and create a template and start everything from that job, sort of thing. Because you work things out and you'll get better. Like, I look at jobs stuff I did 7 years ago, and I'm like, I didn't know how to use the software. I thought I did, but I didn't. So I'm always learning how to use, always learning different ways to do things and things like that. A couple of the forums have likened it to flying a 737. There's so much to learn. Does anyone use Photoshop? Probably a couple of interior designers. We only scratch the surface with Photoshop, don't we? We only know what we need to know. Don't know the software does all this other stuff. So Revit's the same. If you guys just sit in your offices and don't venture out, you'll always do it the same way. If you have someone new come in, you might change it. But building information modeling, also, you need to get out in the industry and see what other people are doing. Because you can go down the wrong path with it. So this is your user interface. Let me find the answers because I can never remember what things are called properly. So does anyone want to have a guess at what number 1 might be? So you have a look at that piece of paper that I handed out. One's looking at the top. It's changed slightly maybe. The little R in the top left-hand corner, or yeah, sorry, I was looking at 3. So there's a bar there with lots of tools on it.
Toolbar.
Yep. So it's referred to here as a quick access toolbar. So it's got tools that you use a lot. So it's got save, it's got print, it's got dimension, it's got tag. That little kennel looking house there is a default 3D view, which I use a lot. So it's the tools that you use a lot. You can manipulate this to have, if you use other tools more often, you can add those to the quick access toolbar and things like that. So where is number 2? Down the bottom left. Does anyone have a guess at what number 2 might be? If you hover over different things on the interface, does it change what it's telling you down there?
Command view.
Yep. So it's the status. Here it's called the status bar, but it's telling you what you've selected. So just always keep that in the back of your head that's there, particularly when you are doing joinery and things like that, and you're trying to dimension to one thing in particular. If you look down there, you might be actually dimensioning to what you want to dimension to. So just keep that in mind. It's there. It is quite important. It is sort of important. I always tend to forget and then remember to look down there. So what is number 3? In the top. So that's your application menu. So that's where you can do file, save, new, print, export, close, and your options and things like that is there. We're up to number 4. Hopefully that's pretty obvious, seeing most of us probably use Word these days. So number 4 is these tools here. So this is called the ribbon. So in 8 weeks, I can't possibly teach you how to use every single tool and function in Revit. What I'm going to try and teach you is a thought process more so than anything else. So sort of like a funnel. So there's 3 funnels. So I want to construct a wall or build a wall, sort of thing. So where would I think that a wall would reside? So I'd go across the top tabs. So these tabs up here, and go architecture, structure, steel, systems. It's probably an architectural element. So I'll go to the architecture tab, and then down here you've got panels. So you've got build, circulation, model, room and area. So I want to build a wall, I want to draw a wall. So that's sort of what I want to teach you guys. So I go, okay, cool. Architecture build is my tool here that I want to draw. I've got wall. Awesome. Does that make sense? So if you think of it like that, higher up process, secondary process, and then your final task, hopefully you won't have too many issues. There are a few little idiosyncrasies in Revit, but generally that's got me out of trouble most of the time until you learn where everything is.
Could you just repeat that again?
The higher hierarchy.
Yep. So I want to build a wall as a task. As my end result is I want to draw a wall. So I look across the top and see if there's a suitable category. So which is architecture for this one, and then I'd have a look under. There's panels here, which you can probably see as well. I'd look and see there's. Sorry, mine's got something different. Build, circulation, and model. So I want to build a wall essentially, and then there's a wall in there, so that's where the wall tool resides. So that is your ribbon. Does anyone have a guess what number 5 is? It's really bad that this image you guys have got doesn't actually show you anything there. So this is a really hard one, but this is your options bar. So when you're drawing walls, you can set parameters, so you can have it go from your ground level to your ceiling level or your second level or whatever. This is where you set those parameters. You can also set them in the next one, which is number 6, which might be your, it's got the title at the top of it. Well, mine probably looks different to your guys' as well. I'm going to give you a lesson on docking these things in a minute, and it is a lot better than it used to be. So over here you have your what palette. It's up the very top of it.
Properties?
Properties? Yep, so that's your properties palette. So that's where you change, you know, from a double brick wall to a single brick wall to a brick veneer wall. That's where you select what you want to draw, sort of thing. And then number 7, which is on the right side of my screen, that's also got the answer in the top as well. So what's that one? Someone?
It's project browser.
Yep. So your project browser is where you're going to spend a lot of time probably pulling your hair out if you're looking at some of the jobs that I have been lately. But it's all your floor plans, all your sheets, all your families, all your sections, all your elevations are in your project browser. So you can see here it's separated into floor plans, sitting plans, elevations, sections. You've got legends there, schedules there, sheets, and all your families are stored there. Like that's where you can access them. So I guess it's a bit like your file directory in Microsoft Explorer or File Explorer. So if you guys imagine when you're building a model, you'll just take floor plans are just to cut through the house. You've built a model, you're just cutting through the house to give you a floor plan. That's essentially all you're doing. So if you think about it as you're building a model, not just drawing a floor plan, you'll be fine. So that was number 7. What's number 8?
Model space?
Yeah, model space view window, same thing. It's where you do your drawings. And number 9, up in the top right hand corner of your view window. Just up here.
Zooming tool.
Shortcut for view.
Yeah, so it's your navigation bar. So you can, there's a couple of tools here. So you've got your pan, zoom, rewind tool there, and then you've also got a zoom tool as well to zoom into regions. To be honest, the mouse wheel on the mouse wheel on the mouse allows you to zoom in, and if you hold down Shift and the mouse wheel lets you pan around. That's all I use. I don't really use this stuff up here. You'll probably find eventually that you just have one hand on the keyboard and one hand on your mouse all the time, and you work out what buttons to press. So number 10, last one. Actually, second last one, because I'm going to add number 11 in here. No idea. So this one is your view control bar. So down here you have a couple of options. So the first one is your detail level. I really need to save a... So in Revit you have the option to show coarse, medium or fine. So for your walls, coarse is just a grey wall. There's no construction material to it, even though there is construction to it. Medium and fine are the same thing. They'll just show you, for a brick veneer, it'll show you a stud, an air gap, and your brick. For elements like doors, plumbing, HVAC, anything that requires a bit more detail, so windows as well. Basically, this is what coarse, medium, and fine mean. So coarse is just, it's just a simple door. It's got some, simple lines. Medium is you add some windows and it adds the swing. And then fine is it adds all the hardware and things like that. So coarse, medium, and fine, we'll work through it again. But that's basically what it means, is the amount of detail that you get to see in your floor plan or your elevation. Most of the time I have it set to medium and it's not an issue, or fine. I don't tend to change it for my jobs at work anymore. But as you can see, you can have things appear in fine that aren't in medium or in coarse. So that's helpful as well. If you don't want to show your door hardware in a section, you can just change it to medium detail But if you wanted to do your interior elevations with your hardware on there, you can set them to fine. So that's quite helpful. And then number 11, which isn't on the sheet, I don't actually know its proper name, it's just worth mentioning that it's there, is so we can link models, files into Revit, and you can also import them. So it's links, underlay elements, pinned elements, face or elements by face, and drag elements on selection. So it's just keeping in mind that down there, see how this one, the fourth one in from the left, has a little cross on top of it? Hopefully on most of yours. If it doesn't, you can click on it to have a cross. So if there's a cross there, that means you can't select things. So if you pin an element and down here I put a cross on it, you can't then select it. So just keep that also on the back of your head, that if I just draw a wall quickly, so I select that now, if I put a pin in it, which I'll run through where these tools are next week, see how I can't, like I'm clicking as hard as I can on that wall, it won't let me select it. So if you ever have that issue and you can't select something, just have a quick look down the bottom right hand corner. I'm going to touch on this a few times because it catches me out more often than I care to admit, that I've pinned something and go, why can't I select this? And it's not until 5 minutes later I'm like, that's why. Look, we all make mistakes, we all forget things. So that is your user interface. So what we might do now is we might have a quick 10-minute break. So I didn't tell you where the vending machines were and things like that. So apologies, I also didn't tell you where the toilets are. So the female toilets are directly behind us. The male toilets are down the corridor to the right. The vending machines are, there's a zip tap and microwaves if anyone wants to have dinner now or something to eat, just down the corridor here, or probably nowhere really good to go today because of the presentations, but there's taps there and vending machines there as well. There's also sinks and vending machines upstairs in a different level, and sort of they copy the same level up, so there's better vending machines from what I've been told upstairs. So if you guys want to be back about 8 o'clock, and we'll jump into opening the model up and having a look at that. Where's the videos? So obviously these things as well work with virtual reality as well. So play that figure.
It's a lot cheaper than $4,000, isn't it? It's like $1.
I think it's about $1,000 a year for a floating license. So you can have your Revit model open and work in. This also works across another couple of softwares, which some of the interior designers might be familiar with SketchUp, or you might be all familiar with SketchUp. So that's what you can end up doing with your models. And I haven't used it myself, but from what I've heard, it's a lot easier than doing some of the stuff in Revit. So the other thing as well with BIM, you can now take your phone and have the model and look through walls and see what services run through walls if you want to poke a hole in them for things like that. So just I thought I'd show you that one because it's pretty cool. And I guess for smaller builders or designers, it's really helpful to show. No one can read plans if you don't work in industry. We'll probably agree on that one. So to be able to show your client even just a generic sort of color and all that sort of interior shot of their house, sells your design way better than a plan ever will, unfortunately. So that is the two software, or Enscape and Lumion are probably the two, but you guys can close that project now. So one last thing I'll show you before we jump into the model, which you can play with on the next one, is it's really bad on this single screen, but I'll show you anyway. So in 2019, Revit decided to give you the ability to pull the view windows out of the program and put them, imagine I have two screens here, and put them on other screens. So one thing I tend to tell you guys is always take a 3D view every couple of steps, just to make sure, you know, things aren't out of place and things like that, because it's much easier to fix them before they become a real issue. So you can now chuck your 3D view on another screen and keep working away. It's amazing. It's much easier now. So I'll just close that. If you guys want to jump on to our Learn page now. So there's some introduction stuff here, which I've pretty much been through without reading it word for word off here. You guys can have a read in your own time if you want. I guess here, Autodesk or Revit used to come in 3 flavors. Used to be architecture, structure, and MEP. I think they all used to be about the same cost to buy. They've decided to do away with that, and now it's only subscription-based service. And it all comes in one version of Revit. I think they saw it was a bit silly to have 3 different versions of the same program floating around. And we'll get to some other stuff in a second. So if you go to Revit short exercises, so this is where that chapter 1 of the Ascent book is. So it's for 2017, but the tools don't change very often. This is also available as an ebook. I think it's about $100 to buy the hard copy, American, plus shipping here. The ebook, so I think about $70, and yeah, I'd go the ebook anyway, because who wants to lug a book like this around? And they are quite flimsy. So the couple of books we've got in there, some might be missing covers and things like that. So they are quite a bad hard copy book. But it's basically got all the chapters that we'll go through, or that's in that book anyway. And if you guys just want to click on the Modern Hotel Final -M RVT and open with Autodesk Revit. And this is where, so this model's quite old now, but this is where you'll always get a warning if you have to upgrade a model to the version. So this one's going to say, do you want to upgrade your model from the version, which is 2014 to 2019? I generally always say yes. If you don't save it, you can revert back to the previous version, but if you do save it, if you are upgrading a model, you might want to do a save as, so you still have an old version in the old version of Revit and a new version for the new version of Revit. So that'll take a second to update. So it does take a little bit of time to update the model sometimes, depending on how complex it is. So everyone's got that open.
This one?
So we're going to probably spend 10, 15 minutes. You guys can have a look around the project browser, have a bit of a play around with doing panning around your 3D view. So you can use your navigation tools here to zoom, walk, center, pan, or you can hold down Shift and the mouse wheel to pan around the model. So this is actually a hotel in America somewhere. So the sample architecture project in Revit is actually someone's house. So someone that was an architect in America and then got poached by Autodesk to help write their software, design this house, and they steal them and put them up here as dumbed down versions of their models. So they haven't got all the content. So if you have a look at the project browser, the floor plans, you can see that you start getting lots of plans here for all the levels. You can imagine here if this has only got floor 1 as like your dimension plan, your furniture plan, your restrooms, your stairs. You could imagine you had those 5 plans there for every floor level. Your project browser starts to get pretty big. So naming conventions become quite important. So just keep that in mind, that you need to have naming conventions in mind when you're doing a model. So have a bit of a play around, have a look at the model, have a look at some elevations, wherever they've gone.
How'd you get it to stay on that side?
Oh, the project browser. That's probably the good one. So the good tip is, so your project browser, you probably got half and half here. I tend to like having my properties and project browser on either sides. So these dock off of the interface. So they're a bit of a pain in the butt. They're a lot of a pain in the butt, but they have made it better. So it's.
So when it turns blue.
So when it turns blue that will mean now when it docks somewhere. And then for those people using a laptop at home, anyone? Yep. You can. Don't know if you can see that. You can dock them over each other, so you get a little bit more screen real estate, and just flick between them, sort of thing. So if you guys want to have a play around with that as well, you'll work out how you like them, and then you'll never have to change them again. Oh, you can put them on that screen as well. You have to bring that back. And yeah, so they're docked on each other. That's down here, so it's the same. I'm going to work properly. So just some tabs down the bottom, so you can flip between. But if you're on a laptop, like myself. Yeah. You're the first one to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I managed to dock it incorrectly.
What is it?
Yeah.
So I'm going to run you through. So someone's already done it and lost their project browser. Is that right? Yeah. So it's easy to do. There's a close button. It's easy to press by mistake. To get your project browser back or your properties palette, does anyone want to have a guess at where you might go to do that up at the top of the ribbon? Yep. I was sort of a bit scared there. I was like, is it view? Because I can't. And then does anyone want to have a guess at where you might go in the tabs to find it?
User interface?
Yeah. That doesn't have a name, but yeah, it's user interface at the bottom, at the right end. And then if you are missing your properties or your project browser, it's just a case of ticking them back on there. I'm pretty sure you can also right click and have browsers. So properties is down the bottom as one. And browsers is project browser as well. So what you'll find is there's more than one way to do something in Revit most of the time. So it's what works for you. I think PP is the keyboard shortcut for properties palette. Interesting enough, PB is not project browser.
What's review? Right click on it.
See how those.
So if you go to this one, and then walk down.
And you managed to dock it on the other side. What was the docking process? Because I noticed
and hold it on. Yeah, keep moving the outside. Yeah, you just sort of walk around and pretty average.
Oh, hang on, what was that? Yeah.
That's it. Anytime I can
Yeah. Yes, you can go. That's it, yeah, but it will, yeah, you've got to be calm a bit. And that's where on the side when you go blue and.
Oh, okay.
Suppose you just keep it out of the way.
Set mine up so I can flip between the two. So see them like tabs.
Okay. But I can't, so if I want to look at an elevation, presumably I can just
Double
click
click.
on it. Oh, double click.
Yeah, I agree. You got software now?
No, I've got a Windows laptop, yeah, for exactly this, that when I started it all up. Windows, but I miss my Mac.
I've only ever used the PC.
That's probably not very helpful, but I didn't even notice that was there. So I don't really do that exercise. Still one night. It's gonna happen. So everyone sort of like, understands looking through their project browser, can sort of pan around a model a little bit. You'll get better at panning around models. It's a bit clunky sometimes. Probably should have told you one tip. So you want to orbit around something in the 3D view. If you click on it, that sort of becomes the center of your pivot. So you can orbit around a model rather than, it just makes it a little bit easier, particularly if you've got a long model or something like that. So you can see that they've got, you can detail quite easily in Revit. A lot of people go, oh, can you still put the same detail in? So I'll run through it again in a couple of weeks, but Revit has drafting views where you can just do those non-model based details. It's always like, I always say, like, particularly seeing probably most people are going to be residential, cost versus reward. So how much time do I want to put in modelling all the roof trusses in a building when I'm going to put on my note, when I'm on my section, I'm going to say refer to engineer's drawings for details. So I'm not going to go to the time and effort to model all the trusses in a house because I'm going to put a note on there, refer to engineers. I'm just going to draw some lines and say they're the trusses. Same with the same with the footings. I'm not going to go to all the effort to draw all the footings for a residential house because I'll go refer to engineers' drawings for details. So how much time do you want to put into doing something in 3D when you could do it in 2D in a fraction of the time? And if you're lucky enough to have a whole lot of CAD files for details like that, or you've been onto the Heba website and got their fixing detail, you can just chuck that detail into Revit. So the detailing side of Revit's quite easy. It can be easy or as hard as you want, sort of thing. Like you could go to the nth degree and model all the screws and all the fins for your windows, but one, it's probably going to make your model really big and clunky, and two, are you ever going to use it again?
It's also very prone to corruption.
Sorry?
It's also very prone to corruption if the file's too big.
Yes. Yeah, look, when I worked on NRAR, it took probably half an hour to open so I haven't actually been in the building, but it's broken up into, I think, about 24 sectors. It was, at least. That sounds about right. then you worked on it,
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
It was stage 1, 2, and 3, and then every floor had, it was all,
Yeah, I guess the Revit model was broken up into sectors. It took half an hour to open and close and synchronize each sector. So the smaller you can keep your file size, the better it is on your computer, and the better it is on your time frames. Because if you're sitting there clicking on something and then it takes 2 seconds to do something, you're probably going to get frustrated like I would really quickly. So keeping stuff light and smart is the best way to do it. If something needs to be heavy and clunky because it needs all that information in it, sure, go ahead. But just to start with, it's better to have really simple stuff at the start and then develop it later when you've got the knowledge and the computer software or hardware to keep up with it. So one really good thing as well in Revit, if you guys just want to have a quick look at my screen, anything that's blue, does anyone have a guess what anything that's blue is, like my level marker might do if it's blue? I'll show you next week, probably. No. What happens if something's blue in your emails? Yep. So if you double click, in my section here, if I double click on my floor 1, it's going to take me to my floor 1 plan. Now that is, depending on what PDF printer you use, a function that you can transfer to your PDFs. I don't know how many people you look at development plans and that, like council development plans, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got that function too. It's
really?
Yeah.
Which council?
A lot of them online.
They're getting better.
Yeah, they're getting better. You can't go back to where you were, but you can at least. I always open a new tab. Yeah, just a very side note.
You normally get the maps at the back. Some of them are actually built into the actual.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add some people to our project. I apologise, the people look terrible. They probably haven't updated since Autodesk bought the software. So if we want to open up our floor 1 furniture plan under floor plans.
Sorry, I'm stuck.
Yep.
I don't know what he...
So yes, because I always think that's like it's across and yes, you want to exit it. I'm just going to hit that one there. Once again. Again. Now it comes back to it. That's a button that's been grabbed for a while. So everyone's got their floor 1 plan open. So probably the last thing we're going to do tonight, so we're going to put a person or 2 into our project, and then I'm going to show you how to do some camera views looking into our lovely foyer area with the trees and that. And then we might do one as well looking into our kitchen breakfast area as well. So we might put some people in here and put some people in here as well. They look pretty average when they get rendered, but as you guys probably told, it's worked out. Autodesk haven't really developed any of this stuff for a long time. There's third-party apps or content you can download and pay for and download that's much more photorealistic and much better. Has anyone walked past the casino development off the bridge lately? Did anyone used to play GoldenEye on the 64?
Yeah.
The heads look like, I'm pretty sure they just got that engine and put the heads on that. I was like, I've seen this before. It took me a while to work out where it was. But you can do that sort of thing now. And you can also do Photoshop after. So to load, I'm not going to ask you the question for this one. So the people we're going to add to this project are components, family components. So basically, doors and windows, they're pretty self-explanatory. Components are pretty much everything else. So we're going to place a component. So in this project, it's already got a couple of components in here. So we have a desk, we have a lobby counter, we've got downlights. What else have we got in here? Lots of other stuff. We've got RPC plants and things like that. We don't have any people though at the moment. So this is going to be the first sort of lesson. So you want to load some stuff into your project. Revit is sort of particular on how things get loaded into a project. So you can only load a door in via the door load family section and a window in via the window load family section. So I realized probably this week none of this makes sense to you, so we're just going to go to component and load family that way. And I'm pretty sure the people are entourage. And we have a male and female IPC. So if you guys want to load that in or open.
So where's load?
So if you go up on the ribbon, third one from the right.
Oh, sorry.
And then you want to do the same process for the male. Revit will remember where you've last loaded content in from, so you don't need to find entourage again. And then hopefully if you've got a component, it should come up with either a male or a female. It should probably come up with Dwayne if you loaded a male. And I don't know who it was if you loaded a female in the last. Has everyone got that sort of going? Oh, yeah. So it's doing the file. So we just start considering that a couple of times and come back to some of them. It's been in there for years. I don't know why it's not fixed. At the moment, I'll explain that with entourage. You can put both of them in there or just one of them in there. So architecture. So has everyone got a person loaded in? So to place a component, you can just click. You can put Dwayne and Alex, and so you can select different options here, and Laurent in there for some reason if you want. The space bar will rotate them if you want to make them have different facing different ways. So if you guys want to have a bit of play with that, you can even add some more furniture if you want that's already in there because it's already loaded. So you can add a dining room table somewhere if you want. We're not keeping this file, so go your hardest. Put as much stuff as you want in as you want. So I'll let you guys have a little bit of play around with that.
Yeah, but one person. Oh, yeah.
So go back to architecture and component again. And because you docked properties. Yeah, that's why I don't like docking that, because it's like, where is it?
How did you dock it? How do you undock it?
Just take one away. Maybe not. How did you do it? Yeah, just split it. Like, I used to have mine like that, and then I got so used to teaching here that it's a bit of a pain on the second screen. So let's just go there.
Click it so that your cursor is free.
So it's a good question. So if I click on so if I don't want to be having a couch and just have a free cursor to escape from the tool, you can hit escape or you can hit modify. So the other annoying thing about Revit is they use modify twice in two pretty important locations. So there's a modify tab and there's also modify over here. So I'll try and refer to modify tab when I'm saying for the tab, but if I hit say modify, it's just the modify there or hit escape on the keyboard. Or escape you out of the tool. So if you hit it once, not with this one. So sometimes if you hit it once, it'll escape you out of what you're doing and then keep you in the tool, but if this one, if you hit it once, it'll take you out of the tool completely.
What do you mean hit it once?
Escape. So you hit escape once. So yeah, hit escape.
Are we getting rid of it?
No, that just gets you out of the tool that you're using at the moment. Has everyone got some sort of random stuff? Doesn't have to be pretty, it's more just how to put stuff into a project tonight.
How do you get them out?
Delete them. So you can hit delete on the keyboard or click on that. So click on that one. Let's delete up here as well. I'll go through that again in a couple of weeks. Or next week probably. So do we want to learn how to create some camera perspectives to see in our building? So did anyone notice when they were looking at the default 3D view that it is orthographic as opposed to perspective? Oh. So your default 3D view is set to perspective, sorry, orthographic, so it doesn't taper off as the building gets further away. You need to create a camera view to generally get it as a perspective shot of a building or of part of a room or the building or whatever. So if I go back to my floor plan, does anyone want to have a guess at where you might go to create a view?
View templates.
It's an easy question. Anyone want to have a guess where what tab you might go to create a view?
So where are we?
So go back to your floor plan. You have furniture floor plan.
3D view.
Yep, so it's create tab. So you go to the create tab. Now, you'll notice that some of these tools just say like view template or visibility graphics or filters or show hidden lines, sorry. And then some of them have 3D view with a little arrow, which means there's a drop down, which means there's more than one tool under that sort of tool. So the 3D view has, let's test my memory. Your default 3D view, which is also this little kennel up here on the quick access toolbar. You've got camera and you've also got walkthrough. The walkthrough in Revit's terrible. Again, they haven't developed it for a few years. So, and Lumion and Enscape are probably much better at doing it. And if you want to render a walkthrough in Revit, you need to render every frame of the walkthrough. So if it's a minute, it's 12 frames a second. It's a lot of renders you need to do to get it photorealistic. And the one downside to rendering in Revit is it locks you out of using Revit. So most of us, what do I use at work in a day? In an average day, I'll use Outlook, I'll use Internet Explorer to access some internal stuff, and then 99% of the day I'm on Revit. So if I'm locked out of it, I can't do my job.
You render in the cloud.
Or you can render in the cloud.
You got to pay for cloud credits.
But you got to pay for, yeah. As students, you get free cloud rendering. You get 20 credits that are infinite, so you can not render anything that requires more than 20 credits in one hit. If it's a paying customer, you get bumped from the server though to the last in line, which is not that bad.
Most of the others are like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, they take rendering on the cloud takes a fraction of the time, thanks to the supercomputers wherever they are. So we want to create a camera perspective here. So if you click on the camera, then you'll come up with your cursor will have a little camera view on it, or camera on it. So this is a 2-click process. So the first click places your camera. Like imagine you're a photographer, set your tripod up. So that's what you're doing with the first click. So I've placed my tripod there, my camera. So the second click is basically where you want to look and how far you want to look. Because in Revit land, you can say how far you get to look, unlike the real world where you've got to look until you can't see anymore. So if I clicked here like this, and then it opens up the view straight away, I can't see the curtain wall and any of the plants further than what I've clicked. So there you go. That's as far as I clicked. That's as far as I can see. So don't worry about if you've accidentally clicked it. You've just seen it took me 2 seconds and 2 clicks of the button, or 3 clicks if I went to the tool, to create a camera view. So what I create sections all the time to see stuff in my models, and I just delete them. It's so quick and easy to do it.
How do you get out?
You go back to the floor plan view.
Oh, okay.
So you'll notice in your project browser, under 3D views, you get 3D view 1. Again, you can have as many as you want there. It doesn't matter.
Is that a quick way of just seeing how you're doing it in 3D?
So that's the default 3D view. So that is the one that I generally chuck on the other screen. And then, obviously, this is a developed model. And you can sort of see, oh yeah, that's the right level, or it looks really out of proportion or something like that. And you can see straight away if you're in trouble or not, or you're going fine. So I can't do that here. Or if you're working on copying a design but tweaking it slightly, you can have 2 floor plans open and 2 screens and things like that. So I go back to that. So we go again to create that again, that camera view. So view, create, default 3D view or 3D view, drop down camera. And then, so then the other thing in this 3D view, the crop box is quite small, particularly for a building of this size and a lobby of twice volume. So you can click on, I know my colors are a bit different to yours, but because we're moving rooms next week, I'll show you how to do it then. And I won't show, because you have to do it again next week. So I'll just show you next week how to change your colors of pre-selection and selection colors. Because you probably notice that when you hover over something, it's blue, and then when you select it, it's blue, which to me seems a bit silly, particularly for you guys to see on the screen. So I'll show you next week how to change that. So you can click on the box, the crop view, and extend the extents by hitting the blue node. And then down in your visual style of, what was it called? Does anyone remember what it was called? Because I don't.
View control bar.
View control bar. You've got your visual styles. So you've got wireframe, hidden line, shaded, consistent color, and ray trace. For tonight, don't use ray trace, because I reckon some of you might have found that it takes a bit of... Ray trace is basically a render. So in the default 3D view, the longer you stay on a view, the better it gets. It just keeps getting better and better and better until you move it, and then it restarts from nothing. You can try realistic and wait, and you can see how lovely the people are in Revit. I'm pretty sure they're from the 90s, judging by their clothing. So you can see what the trees look like. You can see what the concrete pillar or concrete columns look like, and that sort of thing. So if you guys want to do that, and maybe we'll create one looking in the breakfast area. I haven't got any people in my area yet, but that's okay. And I might just do this one as shaded so you can see the difference. So you guys want to have a bit of a play around with that. The one thing with these, you can pan around the model. Oh, actually, that's good. And one other thing that I've just remembered they did in 19 is you can actually now, down in your visual, down the bottom left, you can uncrop your view entirely and get an entire expanse of your model. It still needs to be cropped to go on a sheet later though, but you can have a wide view like this so it looks realistic, and you can sort of walk around using your navigation bar. Some of you might have had a bit of a play with it before, but if you hit on your navigation bar, you've got walk, which is just clicking on it and moving the cursor back and forth and around to sort of walk around your model. It is not the easiest tool to use. It's pretty clunky. And you can also rewind it as well. Rewind on here as well. And you can also like look up and down and pan and or go up and down through your building. I feel like a ghost going through the floors. So you guys want to have a play around with that? So you want to stop the ray trace. Stop how? Just stop up there. You can then save it if you want and things like that. Down here, but still need, because it needs to be a size to go on a sheet, so you can't put that on a sheet because then it just like try to do a 1-to-1.
Just showing how you did that, even on the 3D, how you manipulated that without using the.
Oh yeah, so I use shift and mouse wheel down to pan around without using the view cube or the thing. It will become second nature because and the mouse wheel. Yeah, it's really helpful if you don't have to jump between different programs to remember this.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, because when
I don't use anything like that at the moment, so
no,
it's all you know completely. So.
Yeah, when I was at Tape, I think I was jumping between Revit, SketchUp, Photoshop, and InDesign, and they're all slightly different.
Yeah.
If only one person could make a package that does that.
This is from scratch, so it's all I'm trying to deal with one.
So if you've created your views, you can make one of the external looking up at the building. One of the other things in your external or your perspectives, I call them, your eye elevation is default set to 1750, so it's pretty much probably where my eyes are. You can also change your target elevation manually to say I want to look up at something or down at something. So you can do that there, or you could change your eye elevation to higher or lower sort of thing. So it's based off the level that you've probably put the camera on. So if you do it on floor 8, I think you'd have to, I don't know, you can have a try. I haven't tried it before, putting a camera on floor 8 and seeing what it does. to it. I think it's people. Yeah, okay, I'll delete it. Yep. We'll run through how to delete things. Yeah. So is it sort of making sense? Creating camera views and things like that, and I guess creating what people want to see for their hard-earned money. Yeah, yeah. So we'll go through that. That'll probably be when we do that. So next week we're going to go through the basic drawing tools. So you've already come across some of them by deleting, which is a basic drawing tool. And we're going to do, I think what it is, a project where we're going to use all the tools basically. It's just a simple box with a couple of different things in it. And then that'll probably be most of next week. And then, yeah, then we'll start, importing a DWG or linking a DWG, I should say. And then start drawing houses from probably about halfway through week 3 from memory. So, probably leave it there for tonight. Just let you know as well. So I did mention at the start, I think, that the sessions will get recorded. So it's just the voice and my screen. Those black little things up there used to record the voice, but they found people typing on the keyboards sort of overrode my voice. So it's just this speaker out the front. And then I'll upload them probably over the weekend, early next week, to the class recordings. So I'll put another one here to say I'll just take these down and replace them with what we've been through. So if you can't make a class for whatever reason, I know work gets in the way or life gets in the way, don't feel too bad because you can jump online and watch what we've done. You may get a bit of blank time where I'm helping people or they're doing something and I've probably forgotten to stop the recording. So yeah, that's there. Does anyone have any questions?
So next week, if we want to get a download of the Revit file or whatever, we bring our hard drives in.
Yeah. Yeah, so essentially what you do is you just sign up as a student here and then download it and then you go home and install it. You might need to download the installer at home, but that's only 100 odd meg sort of thing, not a lot. So I think...
so this version is not the full version, it's just a student version?
No, the student version is the full version. So the other thing as well, there's two versions of Revit out there. So there's the full version and there's also the light version. So as I mentioned before, Revit's only available via subscription these days. I think it's about $3,500 a year for your subscription if you buy it outright. You can buy it monthly as well, which of course obviously works out more money. Or the LT version is only about $500 for the entire year, which is almost a monthly, like a month and a half's cost of the full version. It doesn't have all the cool stuff. It lacks, so you can't render in the LT version, so you have to pay for cloud credits. You can't plug into the LT version, so you can't use Lumion. It doesn't have structure or systems. It can't do a whole range of stuff. But if you're just working for yourself and wanting to create, perspectives that just look like this one that we created initially, it's perfectly fine, sort of thing. But
and for documentation,
it's fine. Yeah,
it's all we use.
Yeah, it's all we use
So
too.
I think the only thing that's been an issue is with the Enscape. We can't.
No. Yeah, so like the full version is expensive, particularly if you're only using it part time. But so potentially for you might be able to get away with LT if you just want to look at models and do some basic documentation, because you can still open full version models. There's other things that you can't do in LT that you can in the full version, but if you're just doing houses, it doesn't matter.
So this is good for 3 years?
Yep.
And it's the full version?
Yeah.
Doesn't it print when you print out? It comes up with.
Not anymore. They dropped that 2 years ago, I think, for both AutoCAD and Revit. I probably shouldn't have said that out.
Come to tape every 3 years.
Yeah, you could.
$500 is cheaper than $3.5 grand.
Yeah. I think it does embed something in the files that you create from a student version, but I don't think it matters. So apologies again for the late start tonight. I think traffic and weather and outside was the issue. So next week, if you guys can make your way up to next door and jump on a computer, if you guys sort of struggle to see a screen with like site issues or anything like that, can you just sort of sit at the front, and then if someone's sitting there and they don't appear to have site issues, just bump them out of the way. Because I get, like, particularly this room, like, I know that corner there and that corner there, and probably you struggle to see the screen because you're trying to look past me. So the next room's a little bit better for that, but just be conscious of people that might need to see a screen. Like, I can read the screen, but I'm going to have a headache at the end of 3 hours without my glasses. So just keep that in mind. If that would be great, guys. And yeah, I'll see you next week. I think I said at the start, I know traffic getting here is a bit bad. Who's coming from town or that way of town? Most people. If you duck down Celtic Avenue and come around the back of TAFE, rather than having to go past Tonsley and come back on South Road, that's a better way. And if you work out the back roads, back streets, that might be a better way sometimes. I tend to find from Dawes Road is bad. From Dawes Road is bad getting here, but you can go to the back streets then. You just might have to deal with the 2 train lines, which I've had to do a few times.
Marion and Alawina.
Yeah, or Marion and Alawina. So.
The back streets was clogged. You can't turn right on Celtic.
Okay.
Oh, you could, but it
forever. Yeah, it's lights. Yeah, I tend to take the first opportunity to turn right and get here. So, well, I'll catch you guys next week. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you.
Don't forget a hard drive next week or a USB if you want to download Revit. You don't need to save this copy of the hotel model either.